31. There are men and women in this world who sacrifice human beings to Bhar- Bharavita or Bhadrakali and then eat the victim's flesh. Those who perform such sacrifices are taken after birth to the abode of Yamaraj, where their victims, having taken the form of Rakshasa, cut them to pieces with sharper swords, just as in the world the men eating uh, drank drank their victims' blood, dancing and singing in jubilation. Their victims now enjoy drinking the blood of the sacrificers and celebrating in the same way. Text 32. In this life, some people give shelter to animals and birds that come to them for protection in the villages or forests, and after making them believe that they will be protected, such people pierces them with lenses or threads and play with them like toys, giving them great pain. After that, such people are brought by the assistance of Yamraj to the hell known as Saloprata, where their bodies are pierced with sharp needle-like laces. They suffer from hunger and thirst, and sharp beaking birds such as vultures and herons come at them from all sides to tear at their bodies. Torrents and suffering, they can then remember the sinful activities they committed in the past life. Text 33. Those in this life are like envious serpents, always angry and giving pain to other living entities, fall after death into hell known as Dandushaka. My dear king, in this hell there are serpents with 5 or 7 hoods. These serpents eat such sinful persons just as snakes eat mice. Those who in the life confide others, living entities in dark wells, uh, greniers, or mountains cave, are put after death into the hell known as Avat Nirdohan. There are themselves are pushed into dark wells where poisonous fumes and smoke suffocating them, and they suffer very severely. A householder who receives guests or visitors with cruel glances as if they burn them to ashes is put into hell called Prayavathana, where he is gazed at by hard eyes, vultures, herons, crows, and similar birds, which suddenly swoops down and plucks out their eyes with great force. One who is in this world, text 36, one who is in this world or this life is very proud of his wealth, always thinks, I am so rich, who can I equal me? His vision is twisted and he is always afraid that someone will take his wealth. Indeed, he even uh, suspects his superiors. His face and heart dries up at the thought of losing his wealth, and therefore he always looks like a wretched feared. He is not in any way able to obtain actual happiness, and he does not know what it is to be free from anxiety. Because of these sinful things he does to earn money, argue his wealth and protects it, he is put into hell called Suchimamaka, Suchimukha, where the official of Yamaraj punishes him by stitching threads through his entire body like weaving manufactured clothes. Text 37. My dear King Parikshit, it is providence of Yamraj. There are hundreds and thousands of hellish planets, the impious people I have mentioned, and also those I have not mentioned, must all enter these various planets according to the degree of the impurity. Those who are pious, however, enter planet system namely the planets of the demigod. Nevertheless, both of the pious and impious are again brought to earth after the result of their pious and impious activities are exhausted. Text 38. In the beginning, the second and the third cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, I have already described how one can progress on the path of liberation. In the Puranas, the vast universal existence, which is like an egg divided into 14 parts, is described. The past form the past form is considered the external body of the Lord, uh, created by his energies and his qualities. It is generally called the Virat Rupa. If one reads the description of the external form of the body with great faith, or if one hears about it or explains it to other propagating Bhagavatam Dharma or Krishna consciousness, his faith and devotion is spiritually consciousness, Krishna consciousness, will generally increase. Although developing this consciousness is very difficult, by process one can purify himself and gradually come to the awareness of the spiritual absolute truth. Text 39. One who is interested in liberation, who accepts the path of liberation and is not attached to the path of conditioned life, is called yati, or the devotees. Such a person should first control his mind by thinking of the Virat Rupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, and then gradually think of the spiritual form of Sri Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigra. After hearing the both forms, thus one's mind is fixed in samadhi. By devotional service, one can then realize the spiritual form of the Lord, which is destined of the devotees, destination of the devotees. Thus his life become successful. Text 40. My dear king, I have now described for you his planet Earth, the other planetary system and their land, Varsas, rivers and mountains. I have also described the sky, the ocean, the the lower planets, and the direction, the Hellas planet system, and the stars. These constitute the Virat Rupa and gigantic material form of the Lord, on which all living entities repose. Thus, I have explained the wonderful expanse of the eternal body of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alabel Sridhar Mataji. Let's see, is Krishna Vein Prabhu right today? Yeah, please go ahead, Prabhu, whenever you're ready.
Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for giving this opportunity. And thank you, Mataji, for reading today's Bhagavatam section verses. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, chapter 26, from slokas 31 to 40. So we'll start with prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Once again, thank you, Alibela Mataji, for reading today's Srimad Bhagavatam section verses. So we are in the section of description of the hellish planets. Parikshit Maharaj is listening from Sukadev Goswami. So in the past classes, yesterday and day before yesterday, so we heard different types of hellish planets, and there are 28 hellish planets that were described in this section, in this chapter. And we have heard the first 22 hellish planets, about what are the sinful activities, who performs and who will go into that hellish planets, and how much suffering they will go through, all those things. So, and then now we'll cover the rest of the hellish planets and the other slokas. So this is very helpful chapter and a very enlightening information, at least for a sadhaka like me. And it is good to be reminded time to time, so that we can be aware of so what is the sequences of our actions, and be cautious while performing our activities, so that we can progress in the path of bhakti. So this is important for a sadhaka, because there are three types of people. Like, some people who are addicted to the material activities, even though they listen these things, they probably hear it from one ear and then it will go from the other ear. Of course, the pure devotees who are above this material loss, they are always into the Krishna consciousness, so they will not do that, anything like this. But in the middle, the sadhakas trying to be devotees, or who are practicing Krishna consciousness, these are very important, because it helps them and it reminds them to perform the activities very cautiously and connect all of them to Krishna consciousness, progress in the path of bhakti, so that they can go back home, back to Godhead. So sometime back I heard, like, one devotee, so who joined in the, when Srila Prabhupada started movement in US. So one devotee joined in this Krishna consciousness movement, and he was so inspired that he joined into the temple full time and stayed there. But due to his previous habits, so he slowly left the temple and started living outside and performing his materialist activities. Of course, still he's doing Krishna conscious activities, some of them, and is in connection with the devotees. But when this Prabhupada released this Canto, this book is released. So, and then when a devotee gave this book to this devotee who left the temple and living outside and not seriously, sincerely following the process. So when he read this, then so he became very, it helped this information for him, and he understood that, if he continues his materialist activities, then he has to suffer in hellish planets, and he will continue his life after life in this material world. So immediately he realized that thing, and then he joined into the temple again and started serving full time. So when I heard that, I thought, this devotee who read this book went through this slokas and the purports of Prabhupada. So he read it with in a proper consciousness. He took it as it is. So many times I hear many things, but after some time it will go away. So I don't follow it. So, but that's why time to time it is very helpful to hear these things, or to remind ourselves where we are and how we are progressing in the path of bhakti, and what kind of activities we are doing, like that. So starting from slokas 31, so we see in the sloka 31, so Parikshit Maharaj is mentioning that so in this world, so there are some men, who sacrifice human beings also to Mother Durga, and for what purpose? To eat their flesh, not only the animals but even the human beings. So this is very abominable. So those people will be taken to the abode of Yamaraj, where the victims, so they'll come in the form of Rakshas, and then they'll cut them into pieces, sharpened swords, and then they will drink their victims' blood, dancing, singing, and jubilation. And they now, like that, that kind of punishment will be there. So this hellish planet is called Rakshogana Bhojana. So, so in this hellish planet, of course, practicing devotees, they don't go to this extreme. Of course, they also don't eat meat. But people who are in this kind of category, they will be punished like that. So the material natures, the natures of law is very strict, life for life. So that is the word actually, the meaning of the even the mamsa. Mamsa means mamsaha. So the person who is planning to eat meat by killing an animal, he is mentioning that. So I am unable to control my tongue now. So that's why I am killing you for eating purpose to satisfy my tongue. But I am agreeing that you can kill me in the future and you eat it. So see how much extents one is addicted to the eating the flesh. So similarly here, people are a little bit more extent, go extent that they are ready to kill the human beings also. So man or woman. So people like that are there. So killing the human beings for the eating flesh. So which is very abominable. So, but they will be punished in the hellish planets. So in the sloka 32, we see that here some people they give shelter to the animals. Of course, where the animals came for their protection, and after they came and after they have that given that confidence to that animal that so they will be protected. But those people, what they do is sometimes they pierce them with lances and threads, and then they play with them like a toys and giving them great pain. So such people, so they will be sent to the hell known as Sulaprota, and their bodies will be pierced with sharp needle-like lances. That's why we have to be very careful when we are handling um, any animals, not to hurt them or give any pain to them unnecessarily. I think I heard some time back that in one case I heard that so in the case of Dhritarashtra Maharaja, while 50 lifetimes back, when he was a hunter for his pleasure, he poked the eye of a bird. So due to that, the bird lost the vision, and it went through so much pain. So that's why Dhritarashtra Maharaja was born as a blind, and also that pain is equivalent to losing 100 sons while the father is living. So that's why all his 100 sons were died in front of him. So and on top of that, Dhritarashtra Maharaj has to went through so many lifetimes to accrue the pious credit for getting 100 sons. So that's why we have to be very careful while we are dealing with any animals, not to hurt them unnecessarily. So in the sloka 33, you see that some people are like envious serpents. So, and they always angry and giving pain to the other living entities. So they will be sent to the hell known as Dandasuka. So these are various punishments for various types of people who does the sinful activities. So in this hell, so the punishment is there are some serpents with 5 or 7 hoods. So these serpent will eat such sinful persons just as snakes eat mice. So that's why this is very important to purify our envious or get rid of our enviousness. Of course, this is the basic reason. This is the fundamental reason why we all fall down from the spiritual world to the material world. So this envy is the cause of it. So while we are in the spiritual world, so we felt that why should be Krishna in the center of attraction? So why not me like that? So those two things came like envious of Krishna, and we desire to be enjoyed independent of Krishna. So because of those two things, we fall down from the spiritual world to the material world and going through all these sufferings. Of course, this envious is mentioned in Bhagavatam, various levels. Like there is a envious tendency for any living entities. Little bit of that envious, like when we saw someone nicely doing, then our envy, we will be envious of them like that. That tendency is always there. And then little bit higher is asuya. So that's called. So when somebody does good things, not only we are envious of them because they're doing good, but we also tries to find the faults in them. Like, even though they did 99 things good, but one they didn't do properly, so we will only focus on that. We will highlight that. So that's another level of envious nature. And there is another level of higher than that is we basically as soon as we see them or uh, whoever is the envious, whomever we are envious,ing, so our blood circulates very heavily. So because we feel the enmity with them, so we become enmity with them. So that's a higher level, and it is also a problem to the person who is envious because his blood circulation goes high, and it causes pain to him only actually. And the higher level is it's called kala. So where the person also plans to destruct the other person who is progressing nicely because he is so much envious of that person. So all another we have like lust, anger, or greed, or pride, illusion. All these things can be purified, and we can divert them into the process of Krishna consciousness. So we can be lust for Krishna. We can engage our anger in the Krishna consciousness, or we can greedy for Krishna like that. But this envious nature cannot be engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness. So only way to is to get rid of it. So, and there are many wonderful points that were given in the scriptures how to get rid of this envious nature also. Like understanding this that this material world is very temporary and we don't live for a longer time here. Of course, especially in the process in the Kali Yuga, we live very short period of time. Then what is the need of being envious to the other persons? Because we don't live here permanently. And developing the eagerness to understand the transcendental nature of the Lord, and uh, trying to stop our sense gratification. So all these things, and understanding that the time is very valuable, very limited. So we should use it very properly. And also time to time, we should check ourselves and see how what are our activities, how are we doing that, are they causing any problem to others? Am I getting rid of my envious nature, those kind of things. And also understanding that if we envious of any person, Krishna will not be pleased. So indirectly we are envying of Krishna, which is the stumbling block for our progress in the path of bhakti. So understanding all these things and practicing Krishna consciousness sincerely, we should try to get rid of this quality of envious nature. So that way we can slowly become closer to the Krishna consciousness, to the Supreme Lord. And in the text 34, we see that the people who are who in this life confine other living entities in dark wells or granaries or mountain caves. So they will be put into this hellish planet called Avata Nirovadhana. And they will also be pushed into the dark wells. And in those dark wells, there are poisonous fumes and smoke, so which suffocate them and they suffer very severely. So this is another punishment for the sinful activity that one will be done. And then sloka 35, we see that even if some guests come to our house, but if we see them with the cruel glances, as if to burn them to ashes, so they will be put into this hell called Pariyavartana. So where is gazed at hard-eyed vultures, herons, crows, and they will suddenly come and then pluck out our eyes if we are envious of. I mean, we don't take care of the guests that comes to our house nicely like that. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that actually when a guest comes to our house, even if he is enemy, So we should treat them very nicely in such a way that he will forget the enmity. so, so we should receive them very politely, based on our capacity. At least we should offer a seat to him, or give a glass of water. So these kind of things, so that the guest will not be pleased. And Prabhupada also gives an example, like when Supreme Lord Krishna, along with Arjuna and Bhima, when he went to Jarasanda's place, even though Jarasandha understands that, so Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima, so he considered them as enemies. And when he knows that, when he came to know that, they approached him for a fighting, in such a way that, so that they can kill him. So even though he understands that, so he treated them very nicely. So during the daytime, even though they fight very rigorously, both Jarasandha and Bhima, but in the night time, he used to give a grand reception to them. So they used to sit together and nicely feed the guests like that. So that should be the guest reception. So even though an enemy comes, an unwanted person comes, we should treat them very nicely. And according to Vaishnava tradition, when the guest comes, the hosting family should not sit down with them when the prasadam honoring is going on. So we should feed them first, and then after, with their permission, then take the prasad. So like that. So, but if we don't treat them very nicely, then we'll be put into this hellish planet called Paryavartana. So in the text 36, so Parikshit Maharaj mentions that, Sukadeva Goswami mentions that when somebody is proud of their wealth, thinking that I am so rich, who can equal me like that, so they will be put into this hellish planet called Suchimukha. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that, somebody has a great opulence, whether it could be wealth, or it could be beautiful, or it could be very well versed, or great education, or born in a great family. So all these things, sometimes they are not cautious, or they are not into the process of bhakti. So that will bring proud to them. So and due to that proud, they may not treat others very well. So, and this is the situation of most of the people in the modern civilization. So that's why Prabhupada mentions that in the traditional or Vedic cultures, Brahmanas or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas, even though they receive wealth, they will utilize it for the welfare of others. Like Brahmanas, of course, whatever they get, they will immediately use it in the process of Krishna consciousness to inspire others to take up the process of bhakti. Of course, Kshatriyas, even though they receive a lot of wealth, but they perform sacrifice for the well-being of others. And Vaishyas, through the trading, they get a lot of money, but still they use it for the welfare of others. But Shudras, generally, because they don't have the greater knowledge, so when they get the money, either they will spend it lavishly, or simply keep it in the bank. Of course, in the Kali Yuga, Kalau Sudra Sambhava. So most of them are fall into the under that category. So that's why whether they will spend it lavishly for material sense gratification, or so they will just accumulate it for no purpose. But that will cause a great disturbance in the modern civilization, because that will bring a great pride into their mind, and they will not treat others well, and due to that they will be punished in the hellish planets. So in the text 37, so we see that so these are not only the 28 planets, hellish planets that are mentioned here, but there are hundreds and thousands of hellish planets. And of course, Parikshit Maharaj mentioned some of the sinful activities and what are the punishments in this chapter. But there are many which he has not mentioned here. So, but whoever performs sinful activities, they will go through this various hellish planets according to the degree of their sinful activity. But of course, here is mentioned that even the pious people, of course, somebody who does pious activities, they will go into the other planetary systems, so the higher planet systems. But bottom line, whether it is pious or impious, they have to come back to this Earth planet after the result of their pious or impious activities are exhausted. So that Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Urdhvam Gachanti Satvasta. Like, when we develop our mood of goodness and perform all nice activities, pious activities, then we'll be promoted to the higher planetaries. But when we do the impious activities, adho gachanti tamasaha, like, then we will go into the lower planetary systems or lower forms of the bodies, like that, or into the hellish planets. But even the pious people, Kshine Punya Martyalokam, like, when their pious credit is finished, then they'll come into the Sattva planet and they'll continue the Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. So life after life, like that. So only way to escape from this cycle of birth and death is to practice this Krishna consciousness. In this Kali Yuga, chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In that way, Tekta Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Soachna. So then we will not take another body and then suffer again and again and again, like that. So we'll go back home, back to Godhead, and experience the full bliss in the spiritual world. So in the text 38 and 39 and 40, so it's mentioned that this understanding this external form of the Lord, Virat Rupa, and understanding the Krishna's energies and qualities, it helps. So whoever actually reads with great faith, so or hears about or explains it, this information, this Krishna consciousness, their faith and devotion in this process of bhakti will gradually increase, so that they can become closer to the Supreme Lord. So they will purify. So these things will purify, and then they'll gradually become closer to the Supreme Lord. So that's what I mentioned. One who is interested in liberation and who accepts the path of liberation and is not attracted to the path of the conditioned life. So such a person should first control his mind, thinking of the Virat Rupa, and then gradually think the spiritual form of Krishna. So Sachidananda Vigraha. So it's recommended to think of the form of Krishna, and that we can be able to do when we are in the association of the devotees, the like-minded people. So that's why in the association of the being in the association of the devotees and serving the devotees will help us to go back home, back to Godhead. Mat sevam dwaram ahuri mukte. So Lord Rishabhadev says that so when we serve the devotees, then we can go back home, back to Godhead with their blessings and mercy. So the last sloka of the today, and of course this is the last sloka of this canto also. So Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami mentions to Parikshit Maharaj that so in the previous chapters he has explained this planet Earth, other planet systems, and in this planet Earth there are many varshas, like in the Jambudvipa, 9 varshas, like that. So all these things, and he mentions that all this wonderful expansion of the external body of the Lord is that kind of knowledge has been mentioned here. So I'll pause it here. Thank you all very much for giving this opportunity. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a quick question.
Yes,
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful explanation. So my question was, if the animals are not responsible for their deed, how do they get delivered? Like, lion eating another animal, right? He's not responsible for his action because whatever the lion did caused him to be the lion. So how do they get delivered to the fact as to when they come back as human beings on
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. It's a very wonderful question. As per my understanding, Mataji, the lower forms of the when a living entity gets the lower forms, he is going through the cycle. He is going through the process. So one form after one another form, like that. So based on their previous activities that they have done. So when they are in the lower forms, because of the lower consciousness, they will not get any reactions for whatever the activities that they have done. So, and like that, when they come to the human form, because the human form is very precious and very important life, so that's why it is stressed that one should be cautious and perform the activities and take up the path of bhakti and go back home, back to Godhead. But they will come to the human form at some point. So is that what you are asking, Mataji? Or
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Yeah, that was basically my question. That eventually they'll get to a point where they'll become human beings to help themselves get delivered, given that they do good pious activity as a human being.
yes, Mataji. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank
If
you,
anyone,
Prabhuji.
thank you. If anyone would like to add anything, please feel free to add.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you very
Krishna,
much.
Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Rashtriman